Hello, listeners. Welcome to a very special edition in MHT Conversation. आज we will be talking about something which is very close to our heart, and as you can see, very close to our pets. So we are going to be talking about animal-assisted therapy with Miss Deepika Bhandari, who is also a trauma-informed therapist and practices animal-assisted therapy. So सबसे पहले we will say hi to our new participant. That's Kramer there, and this is Archie here, who doesn't want to stay. Okay.
Likewise. Okay. You want to stay? You stay? Oh,
You stay for some time.
you stay for a while. Hi,
So on
Rajika.
that note, Deepika, hello. Thank you so much for joining into MSC Conversations and taking time out to talk to us.
I'm so glad to be here.
So as
Hmm.
I said,
And so is Kramer, apparently.
yeah. So is Premash. He likes me. So so as I said, I want to say, to all our listeners who are tuning in, this is another edition in the therapy informing the conversations that we've been having at MHT. So here we will be talking about animal-assisted therapy in specific with somebody who's also a pioneer in the field and practices animal-assisted therapy along with trauma-informed therapy. So thank you so much again, Deepika, for coming and talking to us, telling us all about your journey with this cool sort of therapy.
Hmm. I'm just going to let this one go because I think he'll just pass out on my lap then.
That's right.
Huh. So tell me, how are you doing?
So you're doing good, thank you. Uh, I'm very excited to talk to you about this. So, would you want to start by giving me like an insight to your therapeutic background? How did you get interested in trauma-informed therapy? How did you get interested in animal-assisted therapy?
Absolutely. So basically, I have had this insane love for dogs right from the start. So, I mean, if you ever talk to my mother, she'll tell you stories about how I've climbed like dumpsters, how I've basically taken care of every single stray in my building, like throughout my life. So I definitely knew I wanted to do something with dogs. But then, ever since I worked in with the rescue facilities, it really got to me. So I was just like, I don't think that's the right career option for me. And I also started exploring the field of psychology, realized that there's so much to do here, and there's a need for really quick intervention and making mental health affordable and all of these things. So I became passionate about the field. I already was passionate about dogs, so that was the merger that led me into animal assisted therapy. And when we think about people who really could help with counseling, something that comes to my mind before anything else is the perspective of people who've undergone something major, something traumatic. And the thing is, trauma was first understood only in a military context, and then we moved further and we started understanding it in different contexts as well. And ever since that started happening, I think my interest started developing. So whether it be how childhood neglect affects us, or how childhood abuse affects us, or even when you grow up as an adult, how do you grow with those feelings of invalidation? That basically got me interested. And then I got exposed to trauma informed therapy, and how do you do therapy with people who've undergone trauma with a trauma informed perspective. So that's where that interest developed.
It sounds very fascinating, because both these areas are also animal assisted. Yes, everybody, wants to, anybody who's an animal lover would want to be interested in something like that. You're helping people as well as, like chilling with animals. So that is, I
I know,
think,
right? It's a dream
one,
come true.
right. So, are there any other therapies or form of therapies that you're interested in?
So, like, my master's training definitely covers the general list of therapies that we learn. But beyond that, I've been trained in transaction analysis and gestalt therapy, REBT, which is, I think, a very common form of therapy that can be used. And the best thing about, so my primary focus is definitely animal assisted therapy, but I function separately as a psychotherapist as well. But the best thing about animal assisted therapy is you can incorporate it with any branch of psychotherapy. So it makes it a very interesting profession in that way.
Right. So can you tell us what it is? How is it different from other these popular therapies? And is it just with dogs as therapeutic, helping, or there are other animals also involved? Can you give me like an insight on what AAT actually is?
Absolutely. So, animal assisted therapy, or AAT as it's popularly known as, is basically using a trained animal in your therapy process. Now, it's not like an animal is just an addition to the therapy, it's a very, very active part of your therapy process. So, it's basically you do therapy, so the therapist is involved, and so is the animal. So, it's like a three-person triangular relationship that's formed between the client, therapy animal, and the therapist. You would you would rely on talk therapy, but you'd incorporate the dog into different processes. Now, when I say dog, that's primarily because in Mumbai we work here with dogs. So I work with a larger organization that's called Animal Angels Foundation, who are one of the pioneers of the field in bringing it to India and all of those things. So we primarily work with dogs, but no, it's definitely not restricted to dogs. Horses are a very important aspect of therapy. In fact, there's a totally different aspect of animal assisted therapy called equine assisted therapy with
Okay.
horses.
Okay.
You can use farm animals. Um, in some places abroad, there's an entire therapeutic zoo that you are a part of. And each of those animals can be incorporated. So hamsters, cockatiels, dolphins, it's an entire list. So there is no quant to which animal can be incorporated in the process. But yes, I think the most important thing is that every animal is an active part of the therapy. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think it's sounding like something that I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to get into. Right? It's sounding anybody who's an animal lover could, want to be in something like this. So this is one when I was researching. So there's this one question that usually came up. So there is something that is known as a therapy dog, and then there is something known as like this that you mentioned, dogs who assist in therapy and are a major part of therapy. So what is the difference between these two categories, and can you help me understand that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I think when we talk about animals, I'm going to keep saying dogs because that comes very naturally to me, but I can most likely mean animals. But in this case, I'm specifically referring to dogs. So when we talk about dogs in the service profession, we know those seeing assistance dog or the hearing assistance dogs. Those
Yeah.
are basically service animals. So they are trained for a specific population and they serve all the purposes. Now, see, for someone who's visually impaired, for such a person, something as basic as crossing the street is extremely difficult, right?
Right.
And that's when this dog would assist them in doing so, and they're trained that way. So that's what we call a service animal. After that, we come to something which is a different field, which is called an emotional support animal. Now, emotional support animals are trained for people who may or may not have a psychiatric disorder, but they definitely have an emotional issue and they provide additional support to such a person. The third thing that we come to are trained therapy animals. Now, therapy animals unfortunately do not have like a special protection that they get. Uh, like, dogs who are trained for special populations in that way, they get these flight permits and, you can take them to any outside environment. Therapy dogs ka wo nahi hota hai. But therapy dogs are also extremely trained. They're obedient, compliable. There's a proper temperament test that these dogs go through before they can be incorporated into any therapy process, and the guidelines are laid down and all of those things. So that's what a therapy pet is. It's a trained animal who's extremely social, friendly, loves being around people, has excellent temperament, and also meets certain requirements. And then the last thing that we come to, which Kramer is actually, is just a friendly pet. They like being around people, but they may or may not meet all the qualifications for a therapy animal. So I
Okay.
think Archie also is like a small dog in that way. Now, if
Yeah.
you take either of these dogs into a large group of people, they're going to get extremely threatened, or they'll be like overwhelmed by the number of people that are there. So that's
Right.
the reason that they would not make ideal therapy animals. But then there are exceptions to every rule. If a dog loves meeting people and they love a crowd, they're absolutely completely okay for a therapy animal.
Right. Okay. So you've spoke so much about how cool it is, and how it can help also. It can, how being around, and there are multiple researches that also say that being around animals can, help in various emotional needs. Like, it has been proven again and again over the past few years how animals can really, help us develop bonds, help us develop responsibility, help us, combat that feeling of loneliness that sometimes we develop. There's nobody around us. There will always be that one, they kind of, we're just able to, any pet lover will understand, you're just able to develop that bond with the animal, which is sometimes even bigger and greater than, your human counterpart. So, on that note, just a small, I wanted to understand, are there any shortcomings of AAT? Is there something where it doesn't work or not suggested?
Absolutely, there are some shortcomings to animal assisted therapy in that way that, uh, everyone is not an ideal recipient of the therapy. Like, I know you're a psychologist, so you also know that every therapy does not work for everyone, right? And there are
Right.
some people who gel better with others. Now, if someone is extremely afraid of animals, adding them to a session will get too threatening for a person than
Right.
comforting. The whole
Right.
idea is that the therapy process should just be comforting enough for a person. So for someone who's extremely afraid, I don't think this would be an ideal form of therapy. But then, having said that, I've dealt with a person who had an extreme phobia, but she was really motivated to work with animals because she was getting married and her husband was a dog lover. So then, in
Okay.
that case, it can definitely work. Immunocompromised, or they may have an allergy.
Hmm.
In such a case, I don't think that animal assisted therapy would be the best option for them. And then,
Hmm.
very rarely we come across people who just do not like dogs or just do not like animals in that way. And
Right.
that's completely okay. Like, that's their choice. So, yeah, definitely in those cases, adding an animal would just defeat the purpose of, the beneficial effects of the
Benefit.
therapy. So, yeah, I guess those people would not be ideal recipients of the therapy.
Recipients of the therapy. So,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, if you have an allergy or if you, in general, do not like animals, it does make sense to not incorporate animals into therapy. So, but what are some of those mental health issues that AAT really works with? And you've seen it being successful in such issues.
So, if I'm very honest with you, I think AAT works with every single, of course, to varying degrees. Now, if I'm going to talk about children, with children, the common conditions that we come across are autism or ADHD, right? Now, in
Right.
both cases, animals really make an improvement in the therapy process. Like, for children with autism, or relating to people becomes an issue, right? With such children, there is actually a theory that shows this, that they are better able to relate to animals than they would be to humans. So then, those goals that we work on with children with autism, that works pretty well with animals. Similarly, when every child looks at an animal as a sibling or a peer. So when
Hmm.
you look at something as a sibling or a peer, it becomes so much less threatening for them that they're able to work with them quite easily.
Right.
When I come to adults, when we work in the field of grief or trauma, those feelings are so difficult for a person to process that getting through to a person becomes very tricky. But animals are so good at, and they're so in the moment and in the here and now, that they access emotions that the person's feeling very instantly, and it's very easy to work with them. Similarly, when we're talking about anxiety, depression, it works pretty well. When people with addiction, it works really well with them because they are so high on insight and so high on resistance that animals are able to cut through that very easily.
Cut to it.
I guess somewhere when I see them working with people with more psychoactive disorders in that way, that sometimes becomes an issue, especially when a person is extremely symptomatic. because it's difficult for them to differentiate what's happening in the here and now from what's happening inside their heads. So when the person is actively symptomatic, that's the only time that we would refrain from therapy, but otherwise not at all.
Right, right. uh, we have seen, I have also seen, even though I'm not an animal assisted therapist, but we have seen, for a brief amount of time, I was working in a child development center. And as you mentioned, children who have these neurodisabilities, they would bond better with the stray dogs that were there around the center than with the therapist or with us or their parents. Sometimes the parents used to wonder कि अगर हम बोलें कि हमसे तो बात करता नहीं है बट उससे जरूर बात करता है, एक टिफिन उनके लिए जरूर जाएगा, he will go make the own tiffin and then give it to the stray dog on the road. I still remember those cases. And when you hear that there are such, like accepting therapies who are so inclusive, and who would include animals also, plus so many high resistant therapies, clients also, sometimes it gets really difficult to connect with some difficulties, right? Some emotional issues. It is very difficult for us as psychologists also who are practicing. We know sometimes it's very difficult to just break that barrier that people surround around them. So
Absolutely. In fact, I saw it with my own grandmother. So when we were thinking about getting a dog into the house, she was completely against it. She was like, I will literally throw him out of the house. I will lock
right,
him out. All of those things. In the 5 years that she stayed with us and he stayed with her, I have literally seen her completely, totally become devoted towards him. So, like, she would come out into the living room, and the first question she would ask us is, "Where's Kramer? What is he doing?" She does not care about any of us
any
in the
other.
family. She's extremely focused on where is he and what is he doing. I think they just have this natural magic about them that easily gets them to connect with anyone.
Right, that's correct. So, what has your experience been like? Incorporating EAT with, clients with trauma. So, how has it been personally for you as a therapist who practices both these, like very intensive emotional issues?
So I'm going to be thoda selfish and I'm going to talk about myself first. I think
Okay.
every single time that I've done animal assisted therapy compared to normal therapy, see, therapy is draining for the therapist as well, right?
Right.
But with animals, because they are so rejuvenating in themselves, I think I'm able to deal with the situation so much better when there's an animal present. And this is me talking about my emotional states and me personally. When it comes to therapy in that way, it's worked pretty well. I think both work equally well. It depends on the clients that you're dealing with and the specific clientele as well. But as I mentioned before, I think accessing feelings and being able to connect with a person is definitely much better when you're doing it with therapy. Yeah. So I think accessing emotions and reaching people, like overcoming resistance, all of that is so much easier with an animal in the process. And the other thing that definitely animals add to the process is they're very instant. So a person who's trying to, who has a tendency to get caught up in their past or is just living in that time, I think for them, because the animal is very in the here and now, very, very instant, they can easily connect with that and they can go through the processes much better. They bring their focus back to the present.
Right.
Also, for someone who's really caught up in their illness, animals are a brilliant source to break that.
Right. I think it sounds really, something that is much needed in today's society. There are so many issues that people are going through, and
Yeah, I would
still,
agree.
unfortunately, there is a lot of stigma that is involved with our field in our country. It's very, very unfortunate, but people still hesitate to go visit a therapist or tell people that, I'm going for therapy and stuff. So in those cases, and we have seen that, a lot of more households do have pets at home. There are animals that are at home also now. So is there any specific AAT technique that, you can share with our listeners at home and they can try it with their pets at home?
So I guess I mean, in the current situation with the lockdown and everything, a lot of people are dealing with feelings of loneliness and anxiety. And
Right,
I think you mentioned before that research has shown that just stroking a dog reduces your anxiety. So
right,
if you do not have a pet at home, seriously, please go to a local shelter. There are thousands of dogs that can just be fostered. Get them home, shower them with love, let them shower you with love. That's one definite thing. Secondly, as I've been talking through about this throughout, animals are very, very in the moment. They're
right.
enjoying wherever they are, they're doing whatever they are. They're completely carefree and they take each day as it comes. I think that's a great strategy to just incorporate in your life, where you just take each day, be mindful of where you are instead of worrying about the future, worrying about the past, worrying about when this pandemic will end, because none of us know that in any case. So yeah,
Right.
I guess just as a dog, be in the here and now and take each day as it comes.
That's a very nice advice to have. So, all our listeners who have pets at home, and if you don't have pets at home, as Deepika said, please go. If you just step out of your house, you will see a street dog somewhere. Even just feeding them sometimes kind of builds us a sense of responsibility. It's something that we've done with all our younger siblings. That's what I used to do personally. That you used to get a bread packet, or let's say biscuit, and used to take all my younger siblings along with me for a walk. So walk bhi ho jati thi, and then used to feed food also. Eventually, it became a habit, and that's something we do every day till date. We go, we feed stray dogs, and it's become, so the stray dogs also know us. They also wait that there will be food coming at so and so time at so and so place. You will always find those dogs there. It's a bond you develop, and it also develops a sense of responsibility. So, for anybody who's there, please do try and let us know what it feels like. So, this is specific for people like me who are also psychologists and want to become animal assisted psychologists. So, can you tell us, where did you take your training from? And given the whole pandemic issue, is there any online resource that is available which people can try and become a part of this organization?
Absolutely. So the organization that I mentioned, Animal Angels Foundation, they're the ones who initially trained me. So when I joined them, I had a 6-month training period where it was very, very hands-on. We actually got to do therapy and then learn from what we were doing. And we always
Okay.
had someone who was correcting our mistakes. And we made plenty of them, right? So my training has been from there. Obviously, there are courses that are available internationally that we can do, which are certifying as well. And given the current pandemic, yes, there is an online form of uh, sorry, given the current pandemic, there is an online version of the course that's available. So
Okay.
yes, Animal Angels Foundation India, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. You can reach out to their email ID, animalangelcourses@gmail.com. And yes, there is a very, very intensive animal assisted therapy course that they have developed, and they've tried to make it as practical as possible. Of course, given the current situation, it's very difficult to offer the hands-on training that they do, but otherwise, yes, the course is available.
So anybody and everybody who's interested, the details are there in the description below. Okay, please do go visit. There is a link, there's email, everything that is mentioned. Miss Deepika's profile is also mentioned. If you want to talk to her, get in touch with her, want to take therapy with her, her details are also mentioned below. Please do reach out to her or me, and I'll connect your questions to Deepika if that is how you prefer. On that note, Deepika, we've almost come to the end of the conversation. It has been a very enriching and like a insightful conversation for me personally. But I do, kind of want to read a little bit more about AAT before I, take up the step to actually learn it and get certified in it. So, is there any, resource that you would suggest that I can maybe read, or if there is a video series that I can watch and then get a little bit more informed?
So there are plenty of resources that are available online and they're easily accessible. But I guess for me, the Bible for animal assisted therapy is this author called Cynthia Chandler. And she's written a book called Animal Assisted Therapy in Counseling. And I guess that is something that explains the concepts really well. But then that's an entire book. So getting through it is going to take some time. There are plenty of articles that are available as well, and they're all open access, freely available, which talk about what AAT is. The Animal Angels website in itself also describes it. Again, I think you're linking it in the book. But you can also refer to the Animal Angels website, and you can get a lot of details there.
Okay, definitely. So that is something that I'm going to do today. On that note, thank you so much, Deepika, for coming and telling us all about animal-assisted therapy. It's a pleasure having you on board, as an expert and talking to us about all this.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad you have this initiative to get out these different forms of therapy to people and also get general information out. Like I've gone through the blogs on your page on your website. I've gone through the videos, and they're so informative that I really like how you get the point across, and especially your webinar series.
Thank you so much. It is your, this whole positive affirmation that, kind of just drives us to get all good quality information out there. So,
Keep doing
on
what you
that
do.
note, thank you. On that note, I would also like to tell my listeners here that we will be having a proper live session with Ms. Deepika Bhandari on the last Sunday of August, where we will be talking about trauma informed therapy live. So if you have any questions, you want to talk about trauma informed therapy, you want to ask her, please keep them ready and we will be taking them, all of them live on the last Sunday of August. And until then, if you want to visit her profile, it's there in the link below. If you want to know more about the organization that can help you train in animal assisted therapy or the resources you want to know about animal assisted therapy, that is also there in the comments below. So please do go visit, let us know how you feel about it. And one last thing that I want to tell everybody is that we have a cool MHT merchandise section that has been launched on the website. We have made really nice awareness building merchandise that has all been designed by us, okay, the team Mental Health Today. So even though they might seem very generic, but there is a story behind each of them. So please do go read the story behind each of the merchandise and pick the one that you like. We are waiting to hear your feedback. On that note, this is Radhika tuning out.